Let me see here. We got some. I want to play some videos real quick, and a shout out to supporters of the show. I've been talking about, the show's growing. It's getting better and better. We're getting some good guests, and we're talking about a lot of good news and a lot of bad news. But we're working through it. The last couple episodes have been like totally dynamite. So I'm happy to have more of a news focused episode this week. But it's all made possible by listeners of the show. You guys sending HBAR. I'm not going to plug I haven't really been plugging the wallet right now. I mean, everyone's pretty tapped out, and I've got enough. I've received enough HBAR from the community to purchase all this equipment. I'm doing a bunch of stuff. So I'm in a phase right now where I'm kind of like growing a little bit more of the show, getting it to that next phase. And then, I think that, I don't want to force it right now. So, but that's how it works. Supporting the show is people send HBAR to a wallet and I sell the HBAR and buy stuff for the show. So that's how it's grown. It's not grown just by myself. I couldn't do it without the community. I'd still be on Twitter Spaces or Clubhouse with my iPod earphones, talking. So thank you, everybody. Let's dive into a couple clips here. And so these clips right here are, I think, really important. There's 3, and they're all related. And I wanted to just kind of, circle around to these because the last couple episodes of the show, we've been talking a lot about problems in the ecosystem, shortcomings, all these different types of things. And this episode, this week, find the signal in the noise. What I'm really trying to do right now is, again, find that signal, because there's a lot of noise out there right now, in all aspects. And I think that we can see that across the industry, and we can even see that with, in the technology industry, especially with AI and different things that I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I scroll through my feed on X or LinkedIn or whatever it is, and I'm just overwhelmed. I don't even know what's going on. I feel like one minute the world's ending. I feel like the next minute the world's transforming. It's the greatest thing ever. And it's really hard to kind of put one foot in front of the other. And in these times, I really reflect on what brought me success in Hedera or in technology? And a lot of times it's just about getting back to basics, just putting one foot in front of the other. And I think what that looks like for me in Hedera is taking a look back at the top, because we talk a lot about, and have talked a lot on this show with some good friends, about the issues at the top of the ecosystem, the issues with leaders, the problems with resource allocation, and what's being done about it. Are there any signals of change? And so for me, I took a moment and I watched some clips that I think really held some strong signals for me, in regards to how this energy is being received by those folks at the top, right? When I say the top, I mean the executives at Swirlds Labs and the board, the executives and the governing council and the board at Hedera and at the foundation, all these different types of things. What is the impact here? And I think we're starting to see some signals. And we shared some clips of Rob Allen last week, really indicating that these next 6 months are going to be crucial. This next year is going to be incredibly important. And my attention automatically turns to shakeups in leadership. And a key shakeup in leadership very recently has been the appointment of Eric Pacini to the CEO of Swirlds Labs. And Swirlds Labs is a very important entity because it's a pretty sizable company, and it's charged with the development of the Hedera network, of the Hashgraph. And that, I think, is a source of signal for what could be coming. And I want to play a couple clips now that I think indicate some stuff. And Eric is in all these clips, but I want to just kind of play some of these. So the first one is an interview that Eric did at, I guess, a conference for NASDAQ. Hedera's had a little bit of exposure at NASDAQ recently, which has been great to see. But here's Eric in an interview. This is just a clip. and he touches on a new use case, this Hyundai supply chain use case. He's done this a few times, but it does feel like some stuff's happening with Hyundai. So check this out.
And sustainability, what's exciting in that space there?
Oh, I mean, there is one that I really love, which is what we did for Hyundai and Kia, the car makers. We are tracking a carbon footprint of every car that's leaving their supply chain. So when you buy a car, you can know the carbon footprint of that car because it's been registered along the way with 26 different suppliers, and you can offset that carbon footprint by buying carbon credits. So if you're an organization committing to sustainability, you can actually buy carbon credit to offset your footprint. And you can do that in a trusted way because that information is captured.
Right. So, kind of similar to what we were talking about with Dovu with their use case and sequestering carbon and switching over those internal combustion engines to EVs in India. It's like what he's talking about here is something that we've, mentioned on the show a few times is Hyundai is leveraging Hedera and Hashgraph to, through their supply chain, track a bunch of these widgets through the supply chain and all these cars and stuff. And I do think it was a few folks at the HBAR Foundation that kind of helped bring Hyundai into the ecosystem, but that seems like it's an exciting use case. And there also has been previous interviews that Eric has done, one most notably with the HBAR Bowl, where he talks about the impact that it could potentially have on transactions. And he says, like, if you really think about the amount of parts that move through a supply chain for a car at Hyundai, that, and if those events are logged to the Hashgraph, that's going to be a lot of transactions. And immediately my brain goes, well, is this going to be a subsidized use case, right? Is this going to be like Atma.io? We don't know. That rhymes and that was fantastic. But that's kind of where my brain goes with that. And Eric's been talking about this use case quite a bit. And of course, naturally, people kind of go, well, is Hyundai going to be a governing council member? It would be good to have a car manufacturer on the governing council. And that's also very, very interesting. So it definitely gets your brain going. Another clip of Eric and alongside other leaders from other networks, including like VeChain, he talks about DeRec, and DeRec is another incredibly important aspect that we've talked about on the show quite a bit. But decentralized recovery, DeRec, is, and I think the website now kind of shows all of the members of DeRec. If I can pull it up here. Are these folks on here? Yeah, here we go. So check this out. So quick refresher on DeRec. DeRec is decentralized recovery. It's the solution for getting your keys, right? It's a novel technology that uses Shamir secrets sharing, which splits up your private key into all different pieces, or your secret. It doesn't have to be your private key. It could be a recipe. It could be a password. It could be an image. It could be whatever secret you have. Splits it up into all sorts of different pieces amongst what's called helpers. So people that have a device that has a piece of your secret on it. And if you lose your secret, you can retrieve it by going in person to those different helpers and getting your pieces of your secret back. And the key piece with DeRec that's the like special sauce is it has the capability as a protocol to constantly check to make sure that those helpers are still active. If one disappears, it can redistribute the pieces of your secret. So it is a breakthrough in that sense. And it's this perfect combination of tried and true old technology and a new kind of like secret sauce, very similar to Hashgraph. And it's really cool because it doesn't require Hedera. It doesn't require Hashgraph. This is a standalone thing. So that's what's really attracted members of the DeRec Alliance, which includes Algorand, Ripple, Swirlds, XRPL, and a bunch of other members, Constellation, Casper, right? So all these networks are kind of coming together, and there's more to come. And we're starting to see something happen here where we're going, okay, this maybe isn't related to Hedera, but the inventors of the Hashgraph algorithm, right? The founders of Hedera are at the center in Swirlds Labs of what appears to be a global initiative that could shape the future of crypto. Because imagine, right? Imagine if we still had the custody, the ability to custody your assets using your private key, but we removed the risk of losing your private key. Imagine the impact that that would have on the industry. And that's built and supported and it's coming together. So in my mind, I would say one of the most important and projects for Hedera that's being built right now doesn't really leverage Hedera. I see this as a great, there's a very popular strategy in the technology industry called product-led growth. This is great product-led growth. This is great marketing. This is delivering a product to the market, having people come around it and leverage it and giving that value. And probably those people kind of going, well, what other cool stuff have you guys built? What other useful things have you guys created? So it puts Hedera in the center of a really important conversation. And on that, I want to play this clip from Eric Piccini that was speaking at Proof of Talk. And this interaction and breadcrumb here was very, very cool. So let's check this out.
So decentralized recovery is a mechanism that Dr. Leemon from Hedera invented to be able to still own your private key on your wallet, but share a portion of that private key with your friends, and your friends could be organizations or real people. And if you lose your phone, you buy a new phone, you enter your password, and they help you recover your private key back into your phone. They cannot do it if they get together. They have to have you as part of the process. And it's very elegant technology. And we have implemented now that technology in different wallets. So that helps with the challenge of managing your own keys. And Algorand is working with us, and Ripple now is working with us, and other projects that we cannot talk about are coming. Maybe Sunny, you will be joining soon.
I was about to ask, can we join?
Yeah, of course.
So that interaction was great for a few reasons. One is it's clear that, DeRec is reaching a level of maturity where it's, going to be put out into the marketplace. But furthermore, the CEO of Swirlds Labs, Eric Piccini, signals that there is another partner or network coming to the DeRec Alliance that they can't talk about yet. And I've heard similar things behind the scenes, and I don't know who that network is going to be. I believe it's an L1, and hopefully it's a high profile one. That would be incredible. So that's really interesting to see unfold. And you're starting to see kind of where DeRec comes into the puzzle. Is initially, I think people were kind of like, oh, this isn't a Hedera thing, but we're starting to see now, oh, okay. People are coming into the Hedera world through DeRec. So this is just a great initiative, I think, on all fronts. And to be honest, this is really what it's about. It's about exporting goods to the industry to improve everybody, right? Rising tide raises all ships, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you can deliver that value, it gets people interested in what you're doing. And it's good to see. Now, I want to play one more clip. This clip is from Genfinity, and we've had King Solomon from Genfinity on the show quite a few times. Always a pleasure, and he's been a huge support of the show. Ryan's been a huge support of the show. But Genfinity did an interview, Ryan did an interview with Mance Harmon, Leemon Baird, right, co-founders of Hedera and at Swirlds Labs, and again, Eric Piccini, who is the CEO of Swirlds Labs. He had all three of those guys at, I believe, Consensus, sat them down, and I'd encourage people to go check out the full interview. It's fantastic. It's great for anybody. Like, if it's the first video I'd show somebody if they were kind of like coming out of a coma this year and they were like, what's going on with Hedera? It's like, well, watch this video for the folks at the top and the founders to kind of get their temperature on stuff. And then, watch a couple episodes of my show and Genfinity. But I think that this clip right here in particular, there's so many things in here that interest me, that kind of get my brain going. And let's watch, and then we'll have a quick chat about it. But let's check this out. This is Genfinity interviewing Mance Harmon, Leemon Baird, and Eric Piccini.
That we're now beginning to turn the page from, I'm just going to loosely use this term. We've got a new CMO, and I have not cleared this through Sarah. But I think of it as sort of Hedera 1.0, going from 2017 to where we are to now. And we're in the process of turning the page from that first version of Hedera into the next version of Hedera with a new set of leadership, a renewed focus on accomplishing some narrow, important goals, and maturing governance, maturing the platform. And, I'm excited to see where we're going to be on January 31st of this year. I knew on January 1st of this past year that it was going to be very different. That's clearly going to be the case. We've seen some major changes already.
Now, I just want to pause it there real quick. And again, this video is recorded before the before the craziness of controversy and all these different things over the last few weeks. This was kind of, I think, in a little bit before that. And I'm referring to, the bombshells around the foundation and this and that or whatever. We've covered those on the show. But what Mance says there is a clear indication from his words, big changes in leadership and big changes in the direction and the self-identity of the network, right? He talks about Hedera 1.0 and then Hedera 2.0. Rob Allen mentioned this, right? We played a clip from Rob Allen on the HBAR Bull show. Rob Allen clearly articulates this as well. He said Mance was referring to this as being this switchover from Hedera 1.0 to Hedera 2.0. So from Mance's words there, it's very clear that there are substantial changes happening at the top. And they were happening. I would say that they've been happening for quite a while. As soon as I saw last year in the summer, the committee instated by the governing council to search for a new president for Hedera, and then they brought on Charles Atkins. That to me was the first sign of a big shakeup, and especially with Charles's resume and approach. So what I would say is, and this is what I've been saying to people, is a year is a really reasonable time, I think, for fresh leadership to come in, assess, understand problems, and outline a fresh strategy. A year is a very reasonable time frame to do that. And we're kind of approaching the year mark now. And it does feel like that has been the goal that was set out with that original search committee till now. And I think that along the way, what the community has uncovered and discussed and, fought over or whatever it might be, I think that again reinforces and provides that kind of confluence for what's happening right now. And it emerges in Mance's words of, not only are there changes, not only is there a sense of renewed, whatever it might be, it's literally, he articulated as Hedera 1.0, Hedera 2.0. For whatever that's worth, I take that as a big signal from the top. So let's continue on here.
It's going to be cool to see where we are, December 31st.
I had the opportunity to interview Sarah a little bit earlier. She did fantastic. And talk about a resume. I mean, Finastra and R3, that's awesome. Yeah. Eric, vision for the network.
I think to me, what's important is to make the network and the Hedera ecosystem super easy to consume, right? So if you want to build something, if you're a developer, an organization, a startup, an individual, we want to give you all the tools, all the capabilities that you need to build in a matter of weeks, a new business model, a new application, a new company. That's really the vision to me, right? Because I've been in this industry for 10 years, and I keep pushing for everybody to do better, do faster, but also do easier to consume. And that, to me, that's a vision.
Also, too, just say the word retail. That's the big thing here is it's very clear that that's what makes the money for Hedera. That's what drives adoption for Hedera. That's where the action's at, is retail. And, we look at the Solana Blink stuff, and we look at all these other things, and it's retail. It's just say the word retail. But anyways, I digress. Let's continue on.
Yeah, and I mean, I think certainly when you think about streamlining the usability of the network and just the seamlessness of it over time. I mean, we're headed towards a future where everybody's going to be empowered, and you don't have to necessarily go the VC route or be a tech startup to be able to build on chain or build on the Hashgraph. I mean, and that's going to be really.
Also, too, maybe it's maybe what I said isn't quite fair. Like, to be clear, like Swirlds Labs isn't really charged with like growing the network. Like Swirlds Labs is charged with like developing the network, but there is the marketing arm of Swirlds Labs that is supposed to be tackling that. So, yeah, it's one of those things where maybe it's not the CMO or the marketing people there, but like we got to start working in the word retail into, you know, the conversation here. We have to start using that word. There's no way around it. That signal has to be sent. But anyways, again, I digress. Continue, Leemon.
Really cool to see. And then Leemon, vision for the
Yeah.
network.
So you asked about 2024 in the future.
Yes, sir.
So 2024 has been amazingly exciting. We have seen enormous amounts of real world assets and real funds and real things being tokenized on Hedera already, not promises for the future, actually happening. We are seeing enormous adoption and people building new things being built on top of us. This is exciting. And the year's not even half over yet. I can't believe. I would be satisfied if this were the end of the year and I said what happened in 2024. We aren't even half.
That also too, like, again, I love Leemon, but like, I'm sorry, but to say if the year were to be over now and you'd be happy with what's happened, like that's nuts. Like, there's so much to be done with Hedera. Like, and again, to be fair, like Hedera is just doing incredible in so many key areas. It's amazing. But again, retail, what's actually paying the bills, what's actually growing the brand is like, there's so much work to be done. So I wholeheartedly disagree with Leemon on that front. You know, to say that we'd be happy if all that were to happen this year is what's happened now, like, I don't know what I would do. I'd be like crushed. Like, this hasn't been like a dynamite year so far in a few different regards. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Hedera is doing fantastic, and I'm arguably more bullish than ever on Hedera because we're aware of so much. It does feel like people are getting on the same page. There is change, there is energy, but to say that, like, it's like this is all we need. Great. 2025. Let's go. It's like, no, dude, that's nuts. But anyways,
We're done with the year yet. And then you talk about the future. This is a 100-year project, 100-year plus. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it on a path where it's going to become, ledgers in general, but Hedera specifically, is going to become part of every part of the planet. Every part of business and education and social and governance and entertainment, every part of it is going to be using this for part of it. And half the time, it's going to be invisible. The person won't even know they're doing it. Like electricity, you don't think about the electricity going to these lights. It's just part of your life. That is the future.
so, sick, right? I love that. But again, the reality is that Hedera is still kind of, hovering in the 30s or 20s or whatever it is, on coin market cap and stuff. Like, again, I think it speaks to that disconnect, right? Of, I don't think we're kind of on the same page when it comes to the community, swirls, these executives, the big wigs and stuff. Is, it seems that we don't have all the information they do. And it seems that from their view that everything's dope. Everything's amazing. Everything's going to be so sick. Everything we've accomplished so far, if that's all we've accomplished, I'd be happy with this year. Well, maybe from what they understand or they know, maybe there's something massive coming that we don't know about. Maybe they're like, oh my God, wait till they find out that Microsoft and Apple are joining the governing council and Apple's doing Apple payments on Hedera and we just signed the deal and it's so incredible. It's like, maybe they just know a bunch of stuff we don't know about. I have no clue. But, I think that it kind of does speak to that disconnect of like, it's just what Leemon is saying is like not what people are feeling at all. I think that when I say we, the people that, use the network, definitely feel like an uphill battle is in front of us. We're definitely in a valley, not a peak. So I would just say that, let's reflect on that clip a little bit and kind of go, whoa, whoa. Either let's kind of take a seat at the table here and kind of get on the same page, or, tell us the alpha. Why are you so excited? Because I think the community's kind of over here like, this is great, but I don't feel it. It's like it's electricity and 100-year company and all these types of things. I think that that's great. And I think that, it's a good message to put out there, but I do think that it kind of discounts the reality, which is there's a lot of battles ahead for the people that are using the network and trying to grow businesses on it. It's not easy. I don't think, and again, I want to be fair, I don't think that the situation is like they're tone deaf or that they don't understand that necessarily, or that they're like so out of touch or whatever. I think that they have a line to toe. They have a message to get out there. But I do think that kind of like, I wanted to illustrate that contrast of just that point from Leemon in particular of like, no, the last 6 months is not enough. We need more. And we are behind in a few different ways. And there's a lot of missteps. But again, that's why I'm bullish. That's why I'm so excited about Hedera right now, is because the information is flowing a lot more. It does feel like as a community, we're on the same page. And it's like I've said a few times, I'm a strong believer in crypto that if done right, those that use the network will come to control it. Right? So I do think that the community right now has more power and control than they understand. It's unfortunate to see like the community fighting with each other sometimes, because I think that kind of is a little counterproductive. But in the big scheme of things, I think that the community has a lot more power than they understand. We got a few comments here from Milton. Shout out Milton for joining. I'll read the comments here. Retail adoption is essential if the network is to succeed. We need to trap liquidity the same way Ethereum and Solana have via DeFi, TVL, memes, centralized finance, on-ramps, trading pairs, etc. Preach. A higher HBAR price is also essential for network security. We're still in unstable waters with low retail adoption and high incoming dilution. And what Milton's saying here is that the threat to the network is if someone were to accumulate a third of all the HBAR, they'd be able to control the network, right? Like, so if HBAR is very, very cheap, it's easier to do that. If HBAR is more expensive, it's hard to do that. So it like one of the key security mechanisms for Hedera is the price of HBAR. If the price of HBAR, the higher the price of HBAR is, the more secure the network is, right? That's just a fact. Continues, network transactions will never do much to push prices upwards when every transaction is natively priced in USD and in real time. We need traps liquidity. So again, what he's talking about is how do we get the millions and billions of dollars on other networks over to Hedera, right? That's how Solana grew. That's how Sui grew. That's how Ethereum grew. That's how all these networks grew. That's the playbook. And the good news is that Hedera is like doing a dynamite job with enterprise. I think that, we know enterprise moves slow, but what do we do in the meantime? Well, we have to put new focus on retail. We got to start saying the word retail. We have to start identifying the Hedera brand with retail. And I think that those are the things that then just make Leemon's vision realistic. But again, I don't want to like, harp on Leemon or anything like that. I'm just respectively disagreeing with his outlook in that video. Just being realistic here. And I mean, I met Leemon. I mean, Leemon's just an incredible guy. And I think one of the best folks in crypto. I think that the industry would be much worse off if it wasn't for Leemon, clearly. So massive respect to Leemon. So with all due respect, but I do think that going back to on that video, overall, I think I feel pretty good, especially from what Mance said about really Hedera articulating the need to, push from the like 1.0 to 2.0. And as we talked about on the show, just get realistic. It's like, guys, this isn't like a giant thing. Like Hedera is not this giant behemoth, right? It's maybe a top 30 asset, and it's a couple $2 billion maybe, and it's in beta. It's not even out of beta, and and there's not a lot of users. And there's not a lot of enterprise users. The enterprise activity is just not really there right now. Like, not a lot of the governing council members use it. They don't buy HBAR. But on the flip side, this ecosystem has just got so much energy in it. We got borrowing and lending coming. We've got DeFi. We've got NFTs. We've got startups and companies that have been around for years that are thriving. They're raising millions of dollars. The community's coming together. Like, it's just, what's happening over here is just like absolutely incredible. Like, let's put some more energy behind that. Let's stop talking about what's really been played out with these logos. Like, all these logos behind these guys. It's like, these guys are not buying HBAR. LCE, Mangaloo, Mondelez, Nomura, ServiceNow, like, they're not buying HBAR. We are. So anyways, that's the vibe there. I don't want to, Leemon, please don't send me an angry message on LinkedIn or whatever, but respectfully disagree on that point. But agree and I'm amped on 99% of the other stuff that you say. I still watch the Harvard talk before bed some nights. Just my opinion, says loafer.hbar. Well, what's your opinion? Or maybe just my opinion. It's just opinions. It's just opinions, guys.